If your calendar's not full of patients or your clinic isn't growing, it's super easy to think that this is a marketing issue. But the reality is that the landscape of how we deliver healthcare has changed. Whether you're a physiotherapist, a naturopathic doctor, functional medicine, acupuncturist, psychotherapist, if I haven't named your credential, please know I'm still talking to you. When we were all in school, we were taught the patient comes in and we find out what's going on and we give them a solution and out the door they go. And they'll come back in 2 weeks, and if it didn't work, we'll change it a little bit. And in and out and in and out. And this is a transactional model of care. It's actually how the sick care system deals with their patients, and it's maybe an appropriate model for them. But when we're building health, when we're literally crossing what we call the line of fine, the way we deploy health, and the stages that patients move through before they put their hand up and are ready to come and see you are vastly different. What we're going to do in this video is we're actually going to break down a few pieces. I am going to establish for you why this idea of transactional care is antiquated and ill-equipped to actually build health within the wellness model. And I'm going to take you through the 4 different stages that patients move through as they are engaging in their wellness journey. And in understanding the 4 stages that they move through, you're going to have clarity around how you need to market, what type of offer to put in front of them, and how to actually establish a transformational model of care. If you've been feeling like in your gut that the one-on-one transactional system of practice where you sell your service or you sell your time for money, if that is starting to feel like maybe it's not working or it's a lot more work than it used to be, then you're going to want to listen up. Okay, so let's draw this out. And there's a few pieces of anatomy that I want you to understand here when we talk about something called the quadrants of care. So let's establish this piece. And in establishing the quadrants of care, I also want to just put us on the map in terms of a key landmark so that everyone knows where we're actually working with. And this key landmark, we're going to put it right up here in blue. We're going to call this the line of fine. The line of fine is a really important thing for us to understand, and it's actually where all of our clients are coming from. See, every single day, millions of people, literally millions, are dumped at the line of fine. The line of fine is the standard of health that the traditional system leaves people at. And this is really important to understand when we're understanding the frame of mind and the avatar who's coming to see you. Most people are dumped at this line of fine and I need one more prop. And what do? They're dissatisfied. They ring the bell after finishing their chemo and they ask, what should I eat now? How should I prevent my cancer from coming back? And they say, honestly, focus on celebrating right now. You're fine. It's the patient with autoimmune conditions who's put on a biologic to manage their symptoms, and they go, okay, wait a second, I have relief for the first time ever, but what do I do to prevent the progression of my disease? How do I build a state of health? And they say, don't worry about it. Your symptoms aren't coming back. Eat whatever you want. You're fine. It's the perimenopausal woman who is complaining about every symptom underneath the sun. And she goes to her doctor and her doctor says, your blood work looks normal. You're fine. It's part of aging. So one of the key hallmarks about understanding the line of fine is when I say people are dumped there, they're literally dumped there because they are left feeling dissatisfied. They know in their gut there's more that they can access with respect to their health. And where do they go? They go here. And they start to scroll. And they start to scroll on their phone and they start to get curious about people who say there's a better way. They start to feel seen. And this is the moment where people go, wait a second, maybe there's more to healthcare. This isn't about it being alternative. This isn't about it being one option or the other. This is about an ongoing progression of somebody's care. And people leave the line of fine, they turn to their phone or they turn to their friends, and what they're looking for is a trusted authority. The trusted authority energy is what we have taking place in our first quadrant. I call this the aspirational quadrant. Why? Because this is where people go and where they start off, where they go, wait a second, there's more to my health than I thought. I have more control over the outcomes in my body than I ever imagined. There are things I can do, and there's things they literally go home and try that can change the trajectory of their health. This is where you need to be speaking. This is why being on social or publishing a newsletter Twitter or getting on people's podcasts or frankly just getting out of your office is so critical, because in the absence of doing that, you don't have an opportunity to intersect with or get to know individuals who are dissatisfied, having just been dumped at the line of fine. But this quadrant alone, while it could change people's life, I actually felt confident stepping out of practice because I got so much feedback about my podcast alone and how it can transform people's lives. So while we can transform people's lives here, we're not necessarily going to fully build wellness. And for someone who's really sick, or for someone who has a high degree of vision or standard around where they want to go with their health, they're going to need to know more. And so what is going to happen after this aspirational quadrant is they're going to move over here. They're going to move into this second quadrant of care. They're going to put up their hand. They're going to want to learn to lean deeper. And I call this quadrant the DIY quadrant. Now, practitioners everywhere joke about how much they hate it when patients run rogue, when they engage with ChatGPT or Dr. Google to figure out what's going on with respect to their health. But I actually think this is a critical rite of passage for patients. It's also a really important opportunity for you. What type of information or custom GPT or live webinar are you delivering and sharing with people as a trusted authority to give them one small win? To let them engage with the attributes of taking control of their life on their own. Maybe it's a fitness program. Maybe it's a 10-day detox. Maybe it is a new eating plan. It can be any number of things that is simple where they'll feel successful and they'll attribute that success and feeling better to you. Now, for some people, that's it. They're like completely bought in. They like that was transformative enough. Or other people will get to the end of that 10-day lifestyle reset and they'll say, listen, I still have symptoms. I love this individual and this was so great and I do feel better, but I know there's something more for me. And for those individuals, there's an opportunity to move over here. This over here is what we call our strategic quadrant. After watching you on social, after dabbling in your work, this could be, again, like your evergreen webinar, it could be a short cleanse, it could be your book. They've now decided you're the person that they want to engage in for strategic care. Why? Because they're looking for an outcome. Gone are the days where we could sell 60 minutes of our time and expect to transform someone's life. People are looking for more than that now. They want a transformation. They want to come into your office and not be the same person who walked in. So this strategic quadrant number 4, is where we deliver our system of care, our unique methodology. When we author that unique methodology, we again reinforce our authority, our credentials, our capacity to deliver an outcome. And we're differentiated from the type of care that was delivered before they crossed that line of fine. So again, this isn't about having to prove yourself. This isn't about being an alternative. It's about being the option for people once they've stepped into this world, once they've decided that they want something better. So we've got right here our strategic quadrant. And as you have more demand and as things start to grow, there's opportunities within this quadrant alone to start to differentiate your care. Maybe you have a smaller one-on-one practice, but you have so much demand now that you've opened a group program. Again, demand through this system will enable you to start to open up new options. But what we're starting to see here is that there's a pattern, that there's an awareness experience that we need to bring to the table, that different types of creation serve different purposes. But this last quadrant called growth, is the one I'm actually most excited about. When I graduated from naturopathic school almost 20 years ago, I asked my instructors in school, what do we do once we get to the end of the 8 visits or the 3 visits or the 4 visits or they started to feel better? And I remember so clearly my instructor sharing with me, Meghan, once someone is better, you have to let them go. It is disingenuous, it is unethical to keep someone inside your practice if their symptoms are resolved. And at the surface, that sounded correct. But see, the thing that I realized once I started practicing, in fact, once I had 5, 10, and 15 years under my belt, is that what most people were looking for on this side of the line of fine was not the resolution of their symptoms. What they were looking for on this side of the line of fine was an actual transformation with their health. They didn't just want the symptoms to go away. They wanted the disease process addressed. And then they wanted to build even more health on top of that. My most raving fans were the ones that we got well and feeling better beyond what they ever imagined. And they didn't say to me, okay, great, I'll see you in a year from now, Meghan. Those individuals said to me, what's next? How can we continue to work together? And what I found is that those individuals who said, what's next? And we built a plan that enabled their growth in their health, those individuals continued to get well. The people who I let go after their symptoms went away, the people who I let go even after we delivered transformational care together, inevitably 18 months later, they were back in my world because they went back to the old habits. They went back to the old patterns in the grocery store. They went back to the family of origin and the stories they all told about how your food doesn't matter, how they got there in the first place, they went back to. And we started the process again. So this fourth quadrant is not only about an opportunity to augment what you offer in your business. It's not only an untapped world of new revenue in your practice, but most importantly, it drives better patient outcomes. And this is called the growth quadrant. And this is not so we can sell them another package of one-on-one visits. This is where we can be innovative in our offering. This is a beautiful place to offer something such as a membership. A membership that maybe gives them access to you a la carte when they need to. Or you could run a membership like we used to run in our practice, where 4 times a year we would bring in a guest speaker and we would run a speaker series and I would interview them and we would invite our patients, we would invite our members, and we would invite all of our members to bring a friend because who wants to show up at an event alone? And so 50 people would come in the room and 50 people would bring their friends. And the friends would ask how they could become part of the world. And it fed back into the system. See, once you actually understand what the journey looks like, where your raving fans reside, where people still have questions, when they're in the phase of wanting to do it themselves, when they're in the phase of wanting to turn to you for ongoing advice, when they realize they're in partnership together, once you understand the layers of that journey, it becomes so easy for you to see the solution. It's no longer about, oh, maybe I should have a group program. Maybe I should try a high ticket offer. Maybe I should try something online because you're just so desperate for a new solution. When you understand the patient journey, when you're committed to the outcome, when you focus on setting a strategy and not selling services, all of the offerings that enable you to have leverage, that enable you to have better outcomes, and enable you to have a sustainable practice start to come easily into view. If you found this video helpful, if you found this framework something that you could work with inside your practice, make sure you hit subscribe, follow along for more, because this is just the beginning.